Welcome. If you can hear me, just send me a message or say hi in the chat box, then I'll know that you can hear me or not. My name is Mart-Mari. I have lost 80 kilograms, and today's talk is about my fear of regaining those 80 kilograms. This is the first time I'm actually talking without notes in front of me, so this is quite weird because I'm actually looking at myself while talking, so this is quite strange. Oh, hi Diesel. So yes, one of my biggest fears is regaining my lost 80 kilograms, and I've got a history of yo-yo dieting, so it feels to me like it is a very rational fear for me to have, because I've lost 30 kilograms before and I've picked it up, and I've lost 40 kilograms before and I've picked it up. I've now lost 80 kilograms, and and I've managed to keep it off for a year and a half now, but still, that is one of my biggest fears, is to pick up those 80 kilograms again. And the thing is, lots of people have, or some people have told me that it's good to fear picking up that weight again because it will keep me accountable. And others have told me I should rather not worry about picking it up at all and just start eating intuitively or normally, whatever normally means. And somehow I feel that's the way exactly how I'm going to pick it up again. And there's others that have told me, well, if you just just go on like you've had up to now. Don't you don't stick to your formula, keep exercising. In other words, just keep being perfect. And none of these opinions have made me fear regaining that 80 kilograms less. Why is it important to fight this fear of regaining? It is because this fear is stealing from me. It is causing me to feel like I cannot enjoy being at the weight that I am currently. It is stealing from my self-worth when my husband asks me, do you also want some sweets or something that we've bought for the kids? Then most of the time I will answer him and tell him, no, I don't deserve it. And that is what this fear of regaining my 80 kilograms is doing. It is stealing from me. And ultimately I believe that my fear of regaining my weight is what is going to cause me to pick up my weight again. I've had quite a rough year this far. I've really been struggling with my health, and it started in January. I started getting recurring what seemed like a bladder or a kidney infection, and then my foot started swelling. Everything on my left side, it seems like it's my left kidney, and then it was my left foot, and then I've been through so many tests and blood tests and things already, and I just cannot figure out what is wrong with me. So one day I decided I'm gonna go to a homeopath and try and see if that doesn't sort out my problem. And then she gave me a specific diet to follow in order to see if we can get rid of any food allergies. So I had to it was over the Easter weekend, so I had to cut out basically all caffeine and sugar and certain types of vegetables and all red meat and all alcohol, and it was very difficult, but I stuck with it. So I weighed and one of the things she said was this eating program was going to cause me to lose some weight. Now I've been trying to because I'm still at the top of my weight range even though it's my goal weight range, but I'm still at the top. I would like to get in the middle of that. And I've been trying to do that, and I thought, oh, great, this thing is going to cause me to lose some weight. And I weighed myself the Thursday morning before the Easter weekend, and on the Monday morning, I gained, in 5 days, I gained 4 kilograms, which is obviously fluid that I was holding back. Even my eyes were swollen when I went to the optometrist. You guys notice I've got some new glasses. Even when I went to the optometrist asked me if I was pregnant, because my eyes were apparently swollen in the same way that someone in the third trimester eyes would be swollen. So this has been tough. It's been tough not paying attention to this fluid retention and dealing with that. So during my very last therapy session, my therapist asked me to explain to him, how am I gonna regain my 80 kilograms? And this sounds like a very counterintuitive question, but it's actually a very good question to ask yourself on anything that you're trying to achieve in life. How are you going to fail? So if you understand how you're going to fail, then you will know what is the pitfalls to look out for. So I explained to him, I said, well, first I would pick up something small. I'll pick up 1 kilogram, and I'll try to lose that kilogram, and I just won't be able to, and another hurdle will come along and I will pick up another kilogram, and I will try to lose that 2 kilograms then, and then I will pick up some more, and I'll be, might become 4 kilograms, and then eventually I will just get to a point where I will say, well, I might as well just give up, because everything I do doesn't work. I keep on gaining weight, so I might as well give up. And that is how I will regain all 80 kilograms again. And is that not a very familiar story? I mean, how many of you watching today have stopped a diet or quit it on your goals because things wasn't working out the way that you wanted to go? I think that is such a common feeling, especially for people trying to lose weight. So my therapist then looked at me and he said, was the number on the scale the only thing that you've gained from losing weight? Because if he listens to my story, then he only hears me worrying about that number on the scale. So is that, if I'm going to gain weight, is that the only thing that I'm going to lose? Yeah, and sometimes someone else has to point out our silly arguments to us because we are too blind to see it ourselves. Of course, the number on the scale is not the only thing that I've gained. I've grown in confidence. I have the ability to wear better clothes. I look better. I am much fitter, considering that I was sedentary for most of my obese life. Much fitter than what I used to be. I have this wonderful page and this wonderful opportunity and new purpose to life to help others with their own weight loss problems. So of course the number on the scale wasn't the only thing that I've gained from losing weight. But yet that's the only thing I'm worried about, and that is my fear of regaining. That's my obsession with the number on the scale. My therapist then said, well, if he listens to my story, it sounds to him like the same story a gambling addict would tell him. Everything will be going well while he's gambling and he's winning. As long as that number of winnings is going up, it's all good. But as soon as he starts losing, then he will try to somehow regain what is lost. So you will play one more game or two more games and try to regain that money that is lost. And eventually he will know his gambling will cost him all his money. He will have nothing left to play with anymore. So he says that my story, my explanation of how I will regain my weight sounds to him like a very similar story. And he says, but the way to solve the gambling problem is to play for something else, to rather, instead of playing with the goal of winning, which you're almost never going to be able to do, you should rather play for the goal of entertainment. So you set yourself a certain amount of time. So if you've got, say, I can play for an hour and I've got X amount of money, and when either of those two run out, then I stop gambling, and then doesn't matter what the number of winnings are, you've still gained entertainment. So that is one way of turning the gambling scenario into a scenario where instead of you're doomed to always lose, you will always win. Doesn't matter what your total number of winnings are in the end. So his suggestion to me was to try and find something else to play for. Don't play for the number on the scale. Play for something else. And this was something that was quite... This was a difficult metaphor for me to unravel. This was also the very last thing we discussed in session, so it was rushed. And when I left there, I wasn't completely sure yet of exactly how I'm going to apply this metaphor to the dieting game. And when I explained it to my husband that evening, that's something we did after each therapy session. I would explain what we talked about in therapy to my husband. And when I explained it to my husband that evening, he didn't sound very convinced either that this was a way to turn the dieting game into a game where you can always win. So I compared the two like this. In the gambling scenario, you play until either your time or your money runs out, and you play for entertainment. So that's your else. That's what you play for. In the dieting scenario, let's say I would play for the way that I look. Okay? And the only thing that I could think that would run out is time. Because obviously you're supposed to be able to stick to a diet for the rest of your life. So I had a scenario like this. It's like you play until the end of time for the way that you look. And doesn't matter what the number on the scale says, you will always win. And it didn't make a lot of sense to me, because if that number on the scale goes up, then I would lose. Doesn't matter what I look like, I would still be losing. And then only a few days later, it struck me that I had the wrong game. I am not supposed to play the dieting game. I'm supposed to play the game of eating well and exercising. Because if I play the game of eating well and exercising, I will always win. Doesn't matter what the number on the scale says. If I live the healthiest life that I can live, and I exercise, and I pay attention to those two things, I will always win. I will always gain fitness, or I will improve the way that I look, or I will gain confidence, or I will... And it doesn't matter what the number on the scale says. I will always be a winner. And that somehow that has made such a big difference to my approach. And one example of this that since reaching goal weight in December 2019, I have run just 1,500 kilometers plus, but I've stuck to that original weight. So I haven't lost any weight since reaching goal weight, despite running and despite doing Pilates classes. But I've gained. I have gained fitness, and I've gained muscle tone, and I improved the way that I looked, and that I'm still a winner, even though the number on the scale will have me believe that I stayed exactly the same. I still got advantages to living a healthy life and exercising. And that is how I fight the fear of regaining, by focusing not on the number of the scale, but on focusing on everything else that I've got to lose from stopping the lifestyle that I'm leading currently. Because those things I don't want to lose. I don't actually care what the number on the scale says anymore. I want to continue to improve my fitness and to grow in confidence and become a better speaker, become a better writer. Yes, that's quite a a tricky thing to do. So, has this outlook stopped my fear of regaining? If I have to be honest, I think I will always fear regaining a little bit, but this outlook has helped me to live with this fear in the most wholesome way that I can see possible. Yeah, and that was today's talk. I would love to hear if you guys have any questions. If you do, please pop them in the question box or in the comment section, and I'll see if I can have a look. Yeah, I also have that thing, she still sticks to her formula so many years later. That's exactly what I'm trying to avoid. I try to stick to my formula as close as I possibly can, but for those who don't know, the Weiler's formula is basically the amount of food that you can eat. But it's broken up in like proteins and carbs and dairy and vegetables and fruit, fat. Yeah, I think that's all. If I can. So the formula basically says how much of each food group you can eat, but I try not to focus on that too much anymore. I feel that if you focus on that, then if you go off it, then you will beat yourself up too much. That pressure to be perfect the whole time is just too much, and eventually you will because you're only human, you cannot be perfect the whole time. Eventually you will fail, and if you find yourself unable to do it, it's easier to just to quit. So how many times did you join YLS? I joined YLS twice. I joined YLS in 2009 for the first time. I lost that was when my son was just more than a year old. I was on YLS during the pregnancy, before and during the pregnancy with my second child. And I lost quite well. I lost even while I was pregnant with her. But then, once I gave birth to her, it was quite a traumatic birth. So then I didn't go back. I couldn't see myself going back then. So I regained all that weight. I lost about, yes, Connie might know if Connie's joined, but I lost about 35 kilograms then. And I regained all of that weight after that. And then I joined Wales in 2017 again. And that was the journey that I lost 80 kilograms on. So I did Wales twice. I don't see any more questions, but yeah, I hope this talk has given you a way to look at dealing with those times in your life where things just doesn't work out the way that you want it to be. I so often hear of people that will they will lose well the first week and the second week and maybe even the third week, and then suddenly they have a gain, and the moment they have that gain, then they quit because they can't see themselves coping with that gain. And it's not, if you eat well and you exercise. I didn't exercise in the beginning, so I do exercise now, but if you eat well, it will always be to your benefit, even if the number on the scale doesn't show your efforts. It will eventually, it will one day. I try to weigh myself much less now than what I used to, but I still try to weigh at least once a week. So I try to keep myself intact a bit, but I don't. If that number is up a little bit, then I try not to obsess about it, because I know that I've been good. I've been working hard and I've been good, and it will show my efforts eventually. Thank you. I hope you guys have a stunning rest of a Saturday. Thank you for everyone that asked questions. Keep well.